Hey, Dream Builders. Happy Sunday. So, my name is Logan, and I'm a part of the Unicorn Squad. So, we're the team that is normally behind the scenes working on your behalf, but I'm here hanging out with y'all tonight. And this lesson really came to be after sort of seeing and hearing all of the questions and comments from Dream Builders since the last time our guest expert was on. So, Tiffany and our guests really picked up on some sort of common denominator themes and what you guys were really wanting to know. So as we know, you ask and Tiffany delivers. Our expert is back and she is here to talk with us about career move strategies. But first, tech test. Can you guys see me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Say hello. Let me know in the comments so that we can go ahead and get started. Let me look over. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Charlene. Can you guys see me okay? Hello. Hi, Marcia. Okay, Stacy. Hey, Londa. Okay, awesome. So it looks like we are good to go. So it's time to sort of dig into our lesson. Our guest tonight is a returning expert, and she's also a fellow dream builder, which we always love. Tiffany loves to use all of our amazing resources and experts that we have sitting right here in the Academy, like our guest tonight, Libre Jones. She already has one Ask the Expert session in the Academy that she did in May called How to Beat the Resume Bots. And y'all are still enthusiastically tagging her in posts in the Facebook group with questions and testimonies from what you learned. So it's so awesome that Tiffany was able to bring her right back on for us, and also awesome that Libre agreed to return. So tonight she's back. She's going to be talking to us about recareering the right way. So how many of us have ever said, you know, man, I've been doing X job for X amount of years. I want to switch to something new, but my bills are like, that's a no. You can't afford to pay us if you're back to sort of an entry level salary in a new field. Type something in the comments if you have ever had that conversation with a loved one, with a friend, or even just with yourself. Like I talk to myself all the time about that. And in the meantime, let me read you Libre's bio so that she can get started. Okay, so Libre has more than a decade working in corporate America, lots of HR recruitment experience and resume review. She has experience with candidates that get hired and also candidates that don't. She knows why you are hired or passed on and has spent many hours assessing candidates from attire to demeanor to skill set. She also has unique insider experience with the systems employers use to vet candidates electronically. Okay, so I'm looking. Oh, so people are saying, yeah, thinking about it right now. They've had that conversation. Joanne raised her hand. I'm sorry, Joan, Michelle, I'm there now. So a lot of us are kind of in agreement. So, hey, Libre, welcome back on to Ask the Expert.
Hey. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Say hello and just give us the real deal for a successful recareering.
So I just want to say thank you again to all the dream builders. The support has been tremendous. And I do get a lot of these same questions about whether people should change their job, the career they're in, especially if it's not related to where they have a college degree. We run into an issue. So sometimes in some of my sessions that I've gotten with some of you guys, it's really not a resume building conversation. It's more about the path you should take, because I never suggest that anyone give up their salary pay equity. The same way you have equity in a home, you have salary equity related to the amount of years you have in your profession and your skill set. So sometimes you look for a job and it'll say, you know, salary commensurate with experience. That means if you have 5 years experience, there's a salary they're going to pay you. If you have 10 years, that's a different level of salary they're going to pay you. If you're over that, you're also going to get more money, you know, some other kind of compensation. If you've been doing something in the same field for 10 years and you decide to make a straight left for something that is not related to anything on your resume, you are looking at decreasing your money easily by $20,000, unless you are independently wealthy. I don't suggest anybody make a beeline that way. There is a way to re-career. It takes a little more planning. It takes a little more time. But what you want to do is you want to build a relationship with the experience, a relationship with perhaps the company you want to work in, so that you're not starting at the ground level all over again.
Awesome. Okay, so what is I heard you before, you've mentioned the idea of career mapping. Is that what this is about, or what's the first step?
So technically career mapping is, if you, in hindsight, right, if you think about where you want to go in your career, you map out the steps that you think make sense for you to get to that job. But if you are in your job and you're just so fed up, you're tired of it, there is no growth for you, there's no additional responsibility, perhaps there's no value add, then you get kind of sunken down, right, in your job, and you don't want to do it. And you're like, well, I always had an interest in this. But all of a sudden, you realize, hey, I never did that, or I don't have any experience. How can I match my resume so that I even get in that field? I can help you with your resume to some degree, but I can't give you like a yellow brick road if you have zero experience. It's like starting all over again, fresh out of college, or like a first job. Depending on your age, you don't really want to do that, because you will be giving up a whole lot of money. And if you're at a certain level of responsibility at your job, you're not going to have that in a new position, in a new career. You're going to have entry level, type this, file this, answer that phone. You may be past that professionally though. But what do you do if you didn't map it out properly, and now you're 10, 15 years in one career and you don't want to do it anymore?
I feel like that's a lot of our situations. A lot of people are kind of stuck in that situation. Something that they, like you said, have 20 years experience, and now they're like, yeah, I really don't want to do that. I'm interested in something completely different. Where do I start?
Right. So in some of the conversations I've had with people, I've seen that they're like, I liked this when I started, but that was 10 years out of college. I don't want to do it anymore. I've always had an interest in, say, finance, right? So I had someone who did kind of procurement for a really long time, but she had a degree in finance and then wanted to move to finance. Finance is very, very particular. If you're going to get into that field, they want you to have some experience. But if you have 15 years of experience someplace else, that means you're kind of mid-level senior age range, but you'd be coming in at like an associate work level. Off the top, they're going to pay you the bottom if they even hire you, because they're going to be like, what do I need you for? 20 years older than an analyst, and I still have to teach you everything, but I also have to pay you bottom dollar. Like, I know that would be a little insulting. There's a way that you have to do it. I tell people to volunteer, get an internship if they can, use your friendly network perhaps, and try to get in that field just to build the experience before you make that move. You will have to volunteer. You will have to do an intern. Does that fit your lifestyle? Is that something you can really do? Because what you give up is, besides salary, you may be giving up vacation time. You may be giving up your work-life balance because you have to try even harder. You may be giving up the comfort. Some people can work from home doing what they do, but if they change careers, they have to come into an office now and sit in a cubicle. What if that doesn't work for them? These are things that you have to think about before you decide to make the move. So if you want to re-career, it really takes a lot more planning, and you don't want to sacrifice dollars. Hold on, I'm looking really dark. I need to turn this light on, right?
Yeah, you can stand to lighten it up a little bit.
1 second. Be right back.
Sure. In the meantime, I'll just start looking at your questions.
Okay.
So you're saying basically you have to be willing to potentially volunteer or intern. If you're interested in something completely new, you have to basically put the work in.
Yeah, like join an organization related to the field, right? Start going to events, network in that field, speak to people. If you really want to do it, you should absolutely do it, right? If you can't stand where you are, you should absolutely do it. Just know that you may take a little hit salary-wise, but if it's worth it for you and you have the time, build up a little experience for yourself so that you're not coming in cold. Because the first thing someone's going to ask when they see that new position or what you're going for on your resume is, why are you doing this? You have 10 years, 15 years, doing something else. Why are you doing this? So if you explain that it's my passion or it's what I always wanted to do, then people generally can understand that. And they will understand if in your regular life, you've joined organizations, you've taken a course, perhaps you've gotten certified if it's a field where you need a certification, or you go back to school. People can understand a shift in focus if the right things are laid out beforehand. Not just, I've been in finance for 15 years and now I'm going to be a hairdresser. And you never did hair. You have no pictures. You have no portfolio, I mean, and you didn't volunteer. You haven't done anything. I'm just going to be a hairdresser now. All right. No, that looks weird.
No effort.
No effort. So be prepared to get paid $8.60 an hour for that. If you plan it out right, though, on the side, I've always done it, or I've always had this interest. If you can speak to kind of years or months even, where you're starting to dedicate yourself personally outside of your professional life, that shows a passion and a dedication that somebody would want, and they would want to hire you for that.
So speak to time dedicated outside.
Yes. Which is kind of when I tell people to put things, when they build up their LinkedIn profile, if they have interests or things that they do outside of their work or things that are value added, but not necessarily 100% related to their current position, it just shows someone looking at them that, one, you're three-dimensional. There's more than one thing that you offer, but you have a sideline for something else, so it doesn't look like such a surprise.
So it's like your segue, like create your segue.
Right. You have to create a fork in the road for yourself. That fork still has to lead the money, though, because we got bills to pay out here.
Yes, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm looking at questions. Susan's asking, what about relocating to another state? What's the best plan for that?
So if you're relocating, but you're keeping the same career path, there's a different way for you to go about that, because what you do is you just start applying in that new zip code. Start applying. If it's going to be a problem for you to go to that new location to interview, you can't put it up yet. You have to put it up when you're ready to travel. I would say if you're relocating for your own personal reasons and you want to get a job someplace else, you want to start that process as early as possible, because you don't want to move somewhere with no prospects. If you don't have to go, if you're able to volley, in between until you can absolutely get something, you should be able to go to your new location, interview, perhaps set up phone interviews and Skype interviews if that is an option, and plan for yourself to relocate.
That makes sense. Does that help? Let us know, Susan. That sounds like a really good info. Again, having a plan in place ahead of time.
Right.
Let's see. Joan asks, or she says, she was thinking about volunteering as a personal assistant meeting planner in order to build experience with some people who are currently in need but cannot afford to pay right now.
If that's a job that you want to go for, then you absolutely should do that. That makes a lot of sense, because it shows that there is a level of dedication that you have. You can also join like event planner organizations for free. There will be mixers, there will be networking events. You meet a lot of people, you're shaking hands, you're kissing babies, you're getting in that field. Even create perhaps a card for yourself if this is something that you plan to do independently or otherwise, just so that's how people relate to you. You kind of rebranding for yourself.
Got it. Tisha says, how should you prepare your resume if you have volunteered, but your current work experience is not in the career you want to change into?
Is the volunteer experience in the area that you want to work in?
Yeah, Tisha, let us know so that Libre can kind of better guide you through that. Okay, so Libre. So
Yes.
you're saying that the first thing is that know that experience in your field is equates to salary range. So
yes,
you're saying get additional experience in the field you want to move to.
yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think that for some of us right now, the age range that we are in, we took a particular path and we're there. So we perhaps didn't map out as best as we could what we wanted to do. Or, like so many young people, we probably had an idyllic view of what that job would be. And then you get there and, it may be a corporation that doesn't promote you or mentor you to grow through your responsibility. So you're kind of at a stalemate. In as many places as possible, if you can map out your if you can map out your career path beforehand, obviously that is way better. But once you are in it, there's absolutely things that you can do. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm stuck here, in this corporation. As hard as you work for someone else, when you know that there's something different you want to do, you have to hustle for yourself. So if it means, 2 nights a week that you're in a networking event related to the field you want to go. Meet people. If they're having events, if they're having drinks, if there are Toastmasters things or conferences you can attend, you have to start building your resume in that direction. It may mean that you have a secondary resume for that field and it only has what you've done voluntarily or the series you've taken or the series of classes you may have taken or the conferences you've attended, just to show that this is where you're headed and you're serious about this new career path.
So that's kind of, I guess, counterintuitive to what I probably would have thought to do. So I probably would have, in a good way though, saying, because I probably would have hesitated. I would have said, oh, I don't want to go to any of these events. I'm not a, whatever it might be, a realtor yet. So I don't want to go to these events. But what you're saying is no, go. Meet people.
Yes. You could possibly find yourself a mentor at one of these events, right? And maybe they don't have the money to pay you, but they have experience and lessons to teach you. And then they're a reference for you, right? You work for them, you show up, whatever it is, whatever kind of relationship you can develop that is symbiotic between this person that you met and yourself. You have a reason that you want to do it, and they may have a need that needs to be filled. So you're both getting what you need. Also, if you're trying to move to a new field, it definitely helps to have people that are already there, because they may have some gems that I don't have, being inside that field, that says, oh, you know what? Through the city, you can take this course and then they help you get a job. That may help you. That may be all the boosts that you need. Plus, with your other skills that you developed in your current position, it may just be value added. So then your resume is a blend. You took these courses, you went to these events, you volunteered, or you did some, special projects, and the other experience you have in project management or, being a liaison between departments helps you also in this field, so that your resume doesn't look like a sharp shift.
So you're basically kind of like pull your general basic skill set.
Yes.
And then you fill it in with
specifics.
Yeah, specifics.
Related to the new positions. And obviously, being honest, we're not lying here. There is work that you have to do, and it's very different when you are changing careers. So there are people that I've spoken to where I help them with their resume, but in the conversation, I'm like, you really don't need help. Your resume looks fine. What you need is to map out properly what you want to do. So it helps if your degree perhaps is in the field that you want to move to. That's always helpful. But nothing is a sure bet besides experience. It's either somebody's going to just give you a break because they can see maybe, with your other skills that you'd be a good part of the team, but this one piece that you don't have, the experience, they're willing to look past that, but they're going to bargain with you on salary. So you do have to know there's a sacrifice you'll be making.
Right. And so let's talk about that. Actually, Joan has the exact question, which was, it's a lot easier if you have a degree in the field that you're interested in, But if you do not, like Joan says, do you need a degree in the field you decide to go in? I was told, and this is kind of what you've been saying, I believe, Libre, that you could do certificate programs in some things and go from there.
Right. So what's good about right now is there are free courses through certain educational institutions, right? I mean, MIT has courses, Wharton School of Business has courses, from USC to Phoenix University, right? You can take courses related to the field you want to go in, and now they have a path where you get a certificate to show that you did the work and you literally tested as if you were in college in that particular discipline. So the story for me in relation to career mapping is, early in my career, right out of college, I worked in fashion for a very long time. About 10 years, right? I loved it. We had so much fun. It was great. It was fast paced. We were working with magazines and models and, music people. It was great. However, there were so many mom and pop shops in the fashion industry at that time that you did not have a real choice about benefits or 401k. And it was a very grueling kind of calendar. So after a while, in your 20s, and you just have you to be responsible for, that's no big deal. But once I saw that, hey, guess what? I don't have any dental. I don't have a real medical plan. I had to move from fashion. Rather, I made the choice to move from fashion to corporate. While there's plenty of things I do not like about corporate America, the one thing I do like is there are deep pockets. There's a lot of money there. And because some of those corporations are so big, you get a lot of benefits. So I had to switch. What I did was I started to look while I was in fashion for some of these corporate positions. With zero experience in a corporation, they were not looking at me at all. So I went to school. I did a 1-year program, which was more related to computer tech stuff. So I was learning to put computers together, take them apart, desktop support, which technically is IT. It was a very male-centered, and still is a very male-centered industry. It was very difficult for women even to get interviews, which I found out after the fact, right? Again, not proper mapping at that time. But what I did have also was I had to master the Microsoft Office suite. I had to know inside and out how Microsoft Office Word, Excel, and PowerPoint worked. Those are key elements for corporate America. So I had my certificate. I had to play up more of the administrative parts of the fashion job that I had in my resume. Not a lie, I did those things. I just didn't make them the forefront of my responsibilities because I was putting more emphasis on the sales part of fashion and assisting the salespeople in the showroom. So once I did that shift and I had that certified experience in the Microsoft Office suite, I was able to get my first corporate job. Subsequently, it was like a $10,000, $15,000 difference. While I was interviewing with IT, since I had no experience, they were trying to pay me $10,000 less than I was already making in fashion. That was ridiculous to me. I was absolutely not going to do that. Plus, I had just paid for a year of school. Who's doing that? I can't afford to do that. And it was just me. There are people, who have families to take care of. They can't afford a major cut like that. But what I did was I got the certification I needed. And again, what I was really focusing on that certification wasn't really the focus that got me the job. It was kind of the secondary teaching, which is what corporate America wanted, that got me those positions. And there I just continued to climb because my experience at these bigger companies equals a bigger salary. That's my map.
Keisha, so we were talking, she said that we were asking about her volunteer experience. So she did confirm that it is in the new field. So she's just asking about preparing her resume.
Okay. So if there's room, she can put the volunteer experience on the resume, or that can go on her LinkedIn. And in the summary, she should focus more on where she wants to go in her LinkedIn bio, so that people looking for people to hire in the field she's looking to go to look for her.
Can you talk about, okay, for people that were not on the resume session, can you talk about the value of LinkedIn? Because I know you said that it's critical.
LinkedIn is unbelievable. Last stats I checked, which were 2017 numbers, over 10 million jobs on LinkedIn. As a recruiter, working with HR all the time, and in my last 3 corporate positions, working with the human capital and HR departments, their first place to go to look for candidates is LinkedIn. 60% of their day is going on LinkedIn, typing in the keywords that they choose for the open job requisitions that they have. They type in, so that if they're looking for a comptroller, they type in the word comptroller, 15 years experience, and see what they get back. And those are the people that they would look to first to interview. It is vital, if you are looking for a job, that you have an updated LinkedIn. If you're working and you don't want your job to know kind of that you're looking, then you keep your LinkedIn private, but you search employers so that they can contact you only, not the other way around, because you wouldn't want the HR people on your job to see your public, profile on LinkedIn. And not only is your LinkedIn public, saying basically you're maybe looking for a job, but it's in a different field, not related to where you're working right now. Awkward.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you didn't see that session with Libre, I don't want to go back to re going over that, but It was really, really informative. So, but the key message is, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, that's your first stop.
yeah, it is your first stop. No, there isn't a place that recruiters can go. Well, essentially, LinkedIn is like Matched or eHarmony, but for work.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find you. If you're not on there, then they are not going to find you, and you make your job search doubly hard.
Right. Okay, so Tiff Cage says, she's talking about resumes though. She says, in my cover letter, I list the job responsibilities and then what I've done in my career that correlates to that. Is that a good idea?
What you don't want is your cover letter to be a rehashing of your resume. Your cover letter should be kind of an explanation for why they should pick you. So what do you do that is so different? What have you done? Do you list your accomplishments? Are there percentages or, serious action items that you can list? Say you streamlined the process and saved the company 15% annually, something like that. Or if you're a doctor and you see 100 patients, a week, you want to say that you interact with and diagnose and treat 350, approximately 350 patients per day. Per month. What that means is it speaks to your level of responsibility, how you impact the company or the corporation, and your level of dedication to it.
So concrete information versus vague terminology.
Percentages, where you've saved, or if you were able to retain employees that were looking to leave, right? If you're a liaison between departments and that cleared up a bottleneck that helped the company produce more, those kinds of things should be in your cover letter.
Okay, Tiff, let us know if that answers your question. Susan Walker says, this is a good question. If a job prefers or requires a bachelor's degree, however, I only have experience, what's the way to get noticed?
So I'm in exactly the same position. I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I have over 10 years experience in my field. So what I generally do is I apply anyway. I don't care if it says, degree required. I don't care. The recruiter generally, if they are looking, unless that is 100% mandatory and they will not hire you without it. And I find that most places have room if you have a certain number of years of relevant experience, they will generally give you a shot. There are some that are hands down, that door is closed. I don't care about those. I keep trying. I wouldn't let it stop me from applying anywhere. I would definitely just play up the experience that they are looking for. And if you have 5 to 6 years experience in that field, they should at least consider you. If they won't, that's not a place you want to work anyway. They're too rigid. That's just a fact.
Mm. Okay. Hopefully that is great information, Susan. So hopefully that helps you out. Stacy Turner, she says, I just relocated after being laid off after 20 years. I'm not familiar with my new city. So where would I go to look for organizations that I'm interested in? Google search was not successful.
So I would, if you have changed your LinkedIn to your new zip code, right? Change your address in LinkedIn because they're always tracking you anyway, right? You will start to get things that are related to your area. What I think you should do is be a little more specific in Google and type in perhaps the industry name, expo, networking events related to underwater basket weaving, whatever it is, be very specific and put your location. You can also try to join meetups in your city. So go on meetup.com and type in, podcasters, San Francisco, and see what you get. You have to find a way to Google has everything. So you have to find a way to be very specific in what you're looking for and nail it down.
Yeah, you can't find anything on Google.
Anything.
Charlene says, I just left a job for a step up and more pay. I was promised the world, but not the case. It has been months. How long should I stay at this job before I make another move in the same industry?
So have you been there at least a year? I would say stay at least 1 year. You don't want to leave before that because that kind of damages your work history reputation to some degree. It may look like you just jump around. The other thing is if you stay in the same field, if you're not, dead to the field, what you want to do is find a place at least where they tell you once again that there is room for growth. You really don't have a way around that until you're in the position. People will tell you anything in the interview, just like interviewers will say anything in the interview to get the job. But you don't know until you're there. I would not say, I'd say stick it out for a year, but map it out for yourself. If, once you get there and you see you don't like it or it's not working for you or, they just flat out lied, all right, I got you. Make your plan, update your resume, start writing down your value adds. If you have to take some courses or, volunteer someplace else, get some special projects related to where you want to go, map it out so that you are fresh and ready to go in a year. Whatever your cutoff point is, don't stay getting abused, essentially.
Great advice. So use your time wisely.
Yeah, wisely.
To live on purpose, can you speak to consulting and how you would go about determining your hourly wage?
So I consult right now.
Rate. She says rate. I'm sorry.
Oh, the rate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I consult right now, and I didn't know at first what was fair or what would be a viable number, since consulting itself was new to me, but not what I consult on because I've been doing it for over 10 years. So I literally just had to Google how consultants come up with their rates. And come up with something in between. They have a formula that they have that I found, some little math business. You come up with the years of experience, the hours, and what you make right now. And I found a number that was comfortable for me. So you have to figure out, you follow that formula that you find and figure out what works for you. If you start too high, people will let you know because they're not going to hire you at all.
Yeah, you'll know really quick.
You'll know really quick. Or, again, I had to do free things for a very long time. I just had to volunteer and get some experience under my belt, even though this is something I've been doing for over 10 years. It's different to do it in my job capacity than to kind of instruct or help people in my free time with this and a different kind of coaching. So you have to start out at zero first. Because doing it for a corporation is one thing. You have that behind you kind of as your reputation booster. Doing it for yourself, it's like, hey, Joe Schmo, you might as well be out there selling used cars. You have to get some experience under your belt. But ultimately, you have to pick a number that's fair for you and that works for your customers.
Devon, to live on purpose, let us know. Great advice. Tiffany Dogan mentioned, what about taking free courses offered by the library, such as Ed2Go?
Yeah, so There's 2 courses I've taken for free. I don't know if it's Ed2Go, but I think it was like edX or something. But they're brought to you by colleges. All those things help. It definitely shows a level of dedication in you moving in a direction you want to go to. I say absolutely yes to it.
Great, great, great. Let me see. I'm just going through comments. I'm going to jack this name up. But yeah, Jede says, I am 58 and I'm thinking of changing careers. I have 25 years of counseling experience with youth and adults. I want to own my own business as a life coach, motivational speaker.
So here's the good thing about that is your experience that you have is very much related to what you would want to move to. So the only thing I would suggest you do is adjust the framework and how you explain what you did in those 25 years, because counseling is a form of life coaching. You have a particular discipline that you're working in, and your job is to change the behavior perhaps or the patterns of certain people. So that one is not such a major stretch. It really would just be in about how you present what you did for those years. And you can do that for yourself. Being a coach, you can do that for yourself. With behind you is, I have 25 years of counseling experience. That's a great boost for that career.
Absolutely. So is this when you hear the term blended industries, because blend industries where possible, I've heard you say, is that,
yes. Yeah,
is this an example
that's
of
a blend. Right. Definitely. So what I do is in my daytime job is there's a large part of my day that I'm dealing with HR things. New candidates coming in, onboarding, offboarding, reviewing the resumes, having the conversation about why someone was picked or why they weren't picked. All those things help me do what I do, which is consulting with people on how to get hired and what they should put in their resume. So that is a blend, because on my own, it's just consulting. But the breadth of knowledge that I have comes from the discipline from what I do every single day at work. So that is more of a blend. I add the digital piece because since I worked at that startup where they were developing the platforms that people use to background search people, that's a blend of those 2 industries. It was a startup, it was a digital company, but the information that I gained is tantamount to how people get hired. So I use it because it's what they need.
Okay, so to just be clear, so a blended industry switch is a lot easier transition,
much easier
than someone in the comments mentioned like they want to go from finance to nursing or something.
Right. That's a 90-degree angle switch, right? If it's a blended industry switch, it really is just in how you present it, and you kind of just want to change your level of responsibility or your interaction in that field. So you're not giving up your salary equity in a blended industry, because it's just kind of a little veer off. It's not something so different where you have no experience that you have to start from the bottom. You can largely stick to your salary pool and even upgrade depending on what you want to do.
So really, so some of us may need, some of us have the motivation and the time, and they're willing to put in the effort to completely switch careers. And then some of us may need to start thinking about like complementary industries to what we're already in, how we can.
You may not be able to just immediately go, from CEO, to skydiving in chief, right? Like you just may not be able to do that because it is too much of a switch. But if there's something that you can find that is a compromise between what you do now and where you would like to go, that's a much easier switch. There are some people, their resume is just 100% one focus for 15 years. They don't have any schooling or any industry related experience to where they want to go. And I literally have to tell them, you really have to think about this because you're going to lose $20,000 easily. I don't want to work on your resume, for you to switch and then you can't get a job. or what they offer you, you can't pay your bills. So let's have that conversation first. Maybe come back to me when you figure out what you really want to do, if it's related to what you do, so that you can keep your salary range and perhaps bargain a little. Let's have that conversation. Sometimes, like I said, when I talk to some of my clients, and they want me to work in their resume, but it's like, no, I just hate where I am and I don't want to do this anymore. I have to ask them, do you just hate where you are, or do you really not want to do this in this industry anymore? That's a vital question. It could just be that your corporation beat you down or your manager sucks, not that you don't want to do what you're doing anymore.
Great point. Let's see. Okay, there's a lot of questions, so let me keep going. Missy 72. She says, can you give one good piece of advice that will cause you to stand out during the interview?
One good piece? I have several. I don't know about one. I'd say that you definitely need to be prepared. It's unacceptable to not know anything about the company you're interviewing for, and it is frowned upon if you have zero questions.
Okay, that's 101, right?
Yeah.
Be prepared. Rose Arthur, how do I find consulting gigs? I have over 15 years in program management, grant management, event planning, fundraising experience.
You have to advertise yourself. There's a ton of consultants, right? They can't find you if they don't know that you are consulting. So how are you getting your message out there that you are consulting? You just go into your regular day job every single day and hoping somebody hires you as a consultant? They don't know you're a consultant. So you have to network, you have to get in that field, join a consulting group of some sort, socially, network, get your business cards ready, market yourself.
All righty. Londa K. She mentioned Indeed as a great place to search for jobs. What are your thoughts on Indeed?
My last three, I did the LinkedIn app through Indeed. So LinkedIn got me the views from the recruiters, and the Indeed portion got me some of the interviews. So I did those together. 100%, I would say do that.
Okay, so guys, if you're not using Indeed, that's another great place to find.
Yeah, it's the number one player outside of LinkedIn. So what they used to have, and they may still have, is LinkedIn joined with Indeed, so that you could apply for positions right through the app. It doesn't get easier than that.
Yeah, sounds like a great two-pronged strategy.
Yeah.
Let us see. Jackie Randall. I don't know if this is off topic, but what about re-entering the workforce after retiring 10 years ago?
Yeah, so that is also easier to get into a different field, because it is a full-on explanation for why you're doing it, right? I left the workforce. I was done. But I'm super bored, or, I have to work, I need to do something, and I want to try something different. So salary may not be your motivation there. So it's not a big deal if you have to start a little lower on the salary end. But explaining that, look, I retired, I took a year off, I traveled, I did whatever, that's a much easier way to get into another field with not a normal explanation, but just a more accepted explanation.
Oh, I never would have, that's great information. I would have thought, probably just like Jackie is thinking that it'd be like, what am I going to say? But it's actually pretty easy.
I retired. I was done working. Right. And I hate sitting home doing nothing. I have to work. And I was always interested in this. So also, as a retiree, what you can do is you have the time to take a course or volunteer. You're not in a rush. You can, unless you are in a rush, but you can build up what you want to do for yourself and develop another resume.
Perfect. Hope that helps, Jackie. Toy Fox Love is asking, is it wise to make a lateral move with pay in order to get your foot in the door with an entry-level job in the new industry?
If you can do that and you can sacrifice, lateral means that it's the money you're making. So if you're making that money and you're fine with it, that is 100% a great move to just get your foot in the door. Yes, do it.
K. Bianca Tate says, is it sometimes worth it to take a pay cut? I work in nonprofit under a grant. My pay is comfortable, but when I look for permanent jobs, there is a cut?
If it is a field that you absolutely want to go into, and you know that there's room for growth, you may have to bite that bullet for a little while, if you can do it.
Yeah, it really depends on your situation. What can you,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
can you
What can you do?
afford? Can you afford to
When
do?
I was in fashion and I wanted to switch to IT, and they were like, "Oh, well, we'll pay you essentially what you were making 5 years ago." I don't have 5 years ago bills. I have now bills. So that's not something that I could do at that time. I wasn't willing to do it. And I knew that I didn't have to. I was, young enough and dumb enough at the time to figure I don't have to take that. I'm going to keep trying. But I also know that I had a job. I didn't have to leave that job. It's just that I didn't want to be there anymore. So I was planning, and I had the room, I had the space to negotiate and wait to find what I was willing to accept.
Right. Kay Tate, let us know. Hopefully that helped you out some. Sherry Jacob says, I want to go into IT management. Any suggestions on what would be the next step to get into IT management without starting at entry level? I have a master's in IT and an MBA as well.
Are you working in IT right now?
Yeah, Sherry, let us know what you're doing right now so Libre can kind of better guide you. While we're waiting to hear from that, Toy Fox Love says, should you put your picture in LinkedIn if you're a woman looking to enter the IT field?
You have to. If your picture is not in your LinkedIn profile, they're gonna think you're like a serial killer. Everyone has a photo on LinkedIn, a professional photo. It should be just a smidge sexier than a passport photo, though. Nothing too crazy, or nothing. It should not be a photo that you would normally just put up like socially on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like a more relaxed business profile picture. Yeah, not putting your picture up is a negative.
It's kind of like a red flag. They're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
Okay. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Jerry Smith is asking, how much volunteer or outside work time is recommended before you can build a resume around it?
So that's a good question, because you can't have 2 months experience somewhere and think that's really going to help you. What the 2 months experience in a new field would show is that you are dedicated to moving in that direction. I don't suggest that you volunteer for a year, or that people don't have that kind of time. If you are volunteering and taking a course related, then you kind of cut down on the amount of time that you need to dedicate to that new field. So I'm volunteering, or I have some special projects, but I'm also taking courses related to what I want to do currently. 2 months, 3 months should definitely be enough time put in that someone looking for you knows, oh yeah, they're really serious about this. They're doing it.
Jerry, yeah, I mean that's good information. Now we know. You don't have to spend, like you said, 2 years volunteering.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, just show something.
Right.
Okay.
Join organizations as well, or associations, even if you have to pay, to be a part of the associations related to your new field.
Show the effort. Right?
Yeah, show the effort.
Okay. Okay, so Sherry came back to us. She said she is an IT professor right now. I have side gigs in consulting. I have been doing on and off for 10 years.
Oh, so then your resume should basically say, you should point to the things you've done on the side that are more related to where you want to go. Because if you have the experience, you just have to show it. Even if it's not what you do in your work, add your consulting as a job title. If you've been doing it for over 10 years, it should be on your resume anyway.
Sherry, let us know. Okay, so it's 8:54, and I just want to kind of go ahead, and if you guys have more questions, go ahead and type them real quick. We have a few more minutes here with Libre, but I also want to type in Libre, how to find you. So give us your website, your Facebook pages or other social media handles, and of course, Libre is a dream builder, so you can always connect with her. We're gonna go over to the Facebook side for a little bit, but in the Dream Builder group, she is LJ.
Right. I am LJ. My website is corporatecamo.net, and on Instagram, I'm corporate camo.
Okay, so I'm typing that in for you guys now. So corporatecamo.net, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then I'll just put her name so you guys have it in our Dream Builder group. It is LJELLE, right?
Yeah, 2 words, right? And then corporate camo on Instagram.
Instagram.
Right. So on my Instagram and my Facebook, I just, I duplicate the info. So either way, you'll find the same thing. Tips and little videos and, posts related to this subject matter.
And guys, Libre is such a great resource. You'll see, go to her website, you see she has lots to offer. She's helped a lot of dream builders, right, in our group, tons of dream builders. And she's just a really, really great resource on all things careers, jobs, resumes. If you haven't had the chance to see her How to Beat the Resume Box, Ask the Expert session, it was outstanding. So I highly suggest that you go back and check that out if you haven't. And then also, we're going to go over to the Facebook side. Libre is going to be in there for a little while to answer any additional questions you guys have, any comments you have, anything you want to know about her. So,
or if there's something I didn't bring up related to this that you have questions about, I'll be there to answer.
Yeah, if something pops in your mind, just type it in the Facebook group, contact her, let us know, and let her know the gems you got from tonight, what your next steps are. We want to hear it. Libre, thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Tiffany, thank you for asking to bring her back. We really appreciate it. And we will see you guys on the other side. When you post your questions in Facebook, I have a post created. Don't forget to tag Ask the Expert, no S, tag the Budgetnista, and we will see you guys on the other side.
See you guys in a few minutes.
Yeah, see you guys shortly. Thank you.